Hello, my name's Dick Rogers, and I had the honour of taking the funeral of Major Philip Malins MBE MC on the 24th of April, just 2 days ago. And I've put together a little video presentation about it, and towards the end of it I speak again, and also Reverend Ray Price, the chaplain to the Burma Star Birmingham branch, speaks as well. He preached at the funeral. We didn't video the funeral or the ceremony, but we've taken these various other small videos afterwards, which people mostly contributed during the reception after the funeral. So I hope that you enjoy looking at these memories. He was a very remarkable man, and it was an honour to be associated with his funeral. Thanks. And I should say that one video clip which didn't come out, it was unfortunately that of the Japanese ambassador who attended and spoke very warmly about Philip. And I did a little video, but unfortunately I pressed the wrong button, so I lost that, which is very unfortunate, so I'm sorry about that. But the other video clips are really interesting to listen to.
I am Wendy White. I am Philip's cousin, first cousin, and he has been very kind to me. We shared the same birthday, May the 8th, which I think was very appropriate for a man like him. I admire him totally. I don't think anyone worked harder than he did, and he was very, very well liked and popular by everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
John Bishop Midlands Cycling and Athletic Club. We got to know Philip quite well over the last 10-15 years, as he used to attend a lot of our social functions, although Philip has been a lifelong member of the Midlands Cycling and Athletic Club. Never a racing man, but a great tourist. He did a lot of long distance bike riding. He was with us only about 2.5 months ago at one of our social functions, and he was looking quite well then.
Great. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jeff Harrison, Vice President of the Midlands Cycling and Athletic Club, and I've known Philip for quite a number of years. Got to know him better over about the last 10 years probably. And I must say that lots of our functions, if anybody turned up on a bike, it was Philip. Everybody else turned up in cars, Philip turned up on his bike. He was a wonderful, wonderful man.
Thank you. So.
John Pottier, Midlands CNAC. My memories of Phil go back quite a long way, as I joined the club in 1946. But the one memory that stands out is a dinner not all that long ago, when he was the only member of our club that arrived on a bicycle. And I remember him, after a few beers, wandering down the road on his way home. I hope he got home all right, but it looked as if he was not going to.
That's super. Thank you. I understand he rode from John O'Groats to Land's End.
Yes,
once.
he did. Yes, he did.
When was that? Did you? You didn't do it with him, sir?
No. Land's End of John O'Groats is too far for me.
Oh, I'm Anthea. I'm Phil's niece, known as Uncle Phil to me, obviously.
So you're the daughter of his brother?
Yes.
Which brother was that then?
Eric.
And was it Eric died?
No, Eric died in 1997. So
right.
Phil was the last. Even though he's the oldest brother, he
right.
was the last of the three brothers.
And one of the brothers died
Clive.
in the Fleet Air Arm.
Yes, in the war, or just after VE Day.
Yeah.
He did. Yes.
Yeah.
He was a pilot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we remember Uncle Phil particularly because he used to arrive on his bicycle all the way from Birmingham. And
Where was that?
From Birmingham
To
North Yorkshire, sorry.
North Yorkshire.
Yes.
Great.
I don't know how many miles that would be.
At least 150.
At least 150.
Wow.
And also he, in latter years, he used to take the train to York and then ride to our house when he couldn't ride the whole journey anymore. So
That's the easy option,
and
isn't it?
the easy option that was. And then he'd go and visit a friend in the Dales while he was there on his bike.
There are a few hills in the Dales, aren't there?
There's a lot of hills in the Dales, yes. There's a lot of things to remember about Uncle Phil. He had a marvellous sense of humour. He had so many stories to tell, and a lot of which I've heard again today. And he was remarkable. What else can I say, really? Mention the youth hostels. He was a very early member of the youth hostels.
Right.
I think he was number 40 or 40 something. He was really
Amazing.
a very early member of them. Did a lot of that, yes.
Great.
Hi, my name is Kenshin. I'm Japanese Buddhist priest. Why I knew him, Philip Malins, is he visited our temple every summer to attend the reconciliation ceremony for English and Japanese war veterans. Then, what the important in our religion is benefit oneself and benefit others.
Yeah.
He did for Japanese people and English people.
Right.
To have re-encounter.
Yeah.
Then his, how can I say? He was very good person, and he passed away, but his spiritual working is still remain.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much.
We in our generation, we shouldn't forget what has been done by him for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. Thank you so much. And ma'am.
My name is Hiroko. I came. I'm living in Acton at the Japanese Buddhist temple. And when I met Philip for the first time, he was a member of Burma Campaign Society, and every year he came to us to attend the reconciliation ceremony. And I think he had done a lot, a great, like bodhisattva, only bodhisattva can do.
Right.
I pay respect a lot to him.
Bodhisattva. What?
Bodhisattva.
Right. Right. Thank
Something
you.
like a Buddha.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much
I
indeed.
appreciate very much.
And your husband is Reverend Sato.
Yeah, priest, Buddhist priest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
We are members of the Birmingham branch of the Burma Soul Association, and we know Malin because he was our first president, which is 60 years ago today, when he started to formulate.
Yeah.
So that's how, and I also know him because of the work at the Arboretum. He looks after the Priest Garden, I look after the Burma Star Garden.
Right.
So that's how we know Malin.
Okay. What do you recall about him?
Oh, he's absolutely fantastic. The last time I met him was on this last November, and he was sitting there upon the monument itself. And when the service was over, I introduced him to our head office lady, and she'd never met him. But at the same time, he sort of expanded on all the work that we do as a unit.
Yeah.
And we get to talk about all the different things that we've done in our lifetimes,
Great.
And he's fantastic.
Excellent. What was your name, sir?
Charles Wall.
Right. Thank you very much, sir.
Coming in second to Charles Wall, my name is Ron Hadley, and I'm president of the Birmingham branch of the Burma Star.
So I'll just pan down to your official. Can you hold it up?
This.
There we are. That's the seal. What is it? The seal or something?
Yeah.
Of the Burma Star
Association.
Association. Excellent.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And that's never been recorded before. But Charlie just told you things about Philip that his glossary has covered mostly his life. I remember Philip when he gathered together quite a bunch of friends, and he went out and he bought a 6-ton truck, and they were all going to go to Brazil. Right. And they rebuilt the truck and put seats along the sides of it, and they camped on it, and they toured in Brazil. Right. Now, his age was far more senior than the other members of the party. They were classed as youngsters by Philip, but nevertheless they went and they had a terrific time exploring places that very few people, English people, would have the opportunity to see. They took in mountains and other big areas of difficulty to travel on.
So what age would Philip have been at that stage? How many years ago?
He would have been 55, 60.
Right.
In that area, I know not exactly, but nevertheless, he came back with some really, really good stories, and I remember him saying how he had been able to wake up the enthusiasm of some of his members en route. They were into the holiday before they found out what they were really doing, you know. And
I suppose that's what happened if you went on a trip with Philip.
Well, that's right. He just gathered people up, and they were like little birds under the wing of Mother Bird, and that was how he liked to operate, being in charge and doing.
Yep. Thank you very much. That's excellent. And so, could you say your name?
Yes, my name's Tom Adams, member of the Burma Star, obviously. Having served out in Burma. Actually, I'm Charlie represents the Navy here. Ron represents the Army, and I represent the RAF. So you've got the three services all together here.
Excellent.
My memories of Philip. We hold our Burma Star meetings in a sort of Aston area of Birmingham. Philip was living down in Solihull, and after the meetings I occasionally gave him a lift back to Moore Street Station, where he used to jump on the train, and which took him back straight to Solihull, and he was always very grateful for the lift.
That's great.
Gentleman to the end.
Great. Thank you so much. Man. Thank you very much.
My name is Akiko MacDonald. I'm the second generation of Japanese side of the Burma veteran. So my father went to Kohima, 31st Division. How I knew Philip was through late Masao Hirakubo, who originally founded the reconciliation activities, and through an organization called the Burma Campaign Fellowship Group, 1983. Mr. Hirakubo was the advocate of reconciliation between Japanese veterans and British veterans.
Right.
And how it happened was, from the two gentlemen from Wales, they wanted to meet Japanese officers who tortured them very badly. So those two Welsh gentlemen contacted Japanese embassy. So Japanese embassies get in touch with Mr. Hirakubo, who was residing in UK. And that was the way they met, and that was where it all started. So that was the Burma Campaign Fellowships, how it started. So then Philip Malins joined. So at the peak of this organization, increased it 150 of the British veterans joined reconciliation activities. So that's the way it happened. And in 2000, between 2001 and 2002, the memberships, they were all getting old. They are very content to achieve reconciliations. Those group of the British veterans went to Japan several times, exchanged relationship, friendship, and both understanding each other. So that's where they made a great achievement towards the reconciliations. And Philip was one of them. And both parties from Japan and UK went to Kohima, and then also they organized the reconciliation ceremony, joint memorial services in a Christian church. That was on the hill of Nagaland. So it's quite a long story. However, they were very happy the way it happened. They understood each other very well, so they wanted to close down. So now Mr. Hirokubo wanted to carry on to pass the torch to younger generations to talk about war as a history. And the Philip helped Masao Hirokubo as a deputy chairman of the Burma Campaign Society. So then Mr. Hirokubo became chairman of the Burma Campaign Society. And I became, Philip helped him as a deputy, and went on several years until Mr. Hirokubo died in 2008. Philip resigned because he was running another reconciliation organizations. However, since I took over chairmanship, Philip was very, very good friend of mine, and was very good mentor for me. And I often had many, many conversations on the phone, meeting, attending discussion meetings. I also held a massive event between Japan and UK, and we liked each other. Although some of the aspects we disagreed, but I respected him, how he wanted to achieve. He wanted to spread the reconciliation, not just between UK and Japan. He wanted also achieve British as well as Germany. So that's why he wanted to carry on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'm Roger Neal. It was my father who was a Burma veteran, and it was through taking my father to Burma Star Association functions that I first met Phil. And on a number of occasions I've had to telephone Phil for information for my father, and what would have been normally with most people a 5-minute telephone conversation would invariably end up to be nearly 2 hours or more. But they were always full of interesting points about Phil's adventures, particularly in Burma. And I know he and my father got on very, very well together whilst they were in each other's company at branch functions. And I always found Phil to be a very warm man, quiet and unassuming, but boy had he got some knowledge.
Tell me about the badges you've got, Roger.
The badges I've got, well, the medals I've got are my father's medals.
Right.
Burma Star.
Which one's the Burma Star?
Right, well, if I go through them, we have the 1939-45 Star, the Burma Star, and one of these is the Defence Medal, that's that one.
Right.
And this one is the Victory Medal.
Right.
Not everyone got the Defence Medal. My father got that for services in the police messenger service before he was old enough to sign up.
Right. Roger, thank you very much indeed.
Philip Stephen Malins, I'm known as Steve, just to avoid confusion with my uncle Phil.
Yeah.
What can I say?
What do you remember about him particularly? What do you think are the really important things to remember about him?
Well, I remember him when I was quite young, probably 7 or 8, and he used to live at our house in Handsworth Wood.
Yeah.
And I always remember him climbing out of his little Standard 8, which was quite a small car, and he was quite a big bloke. But he used to, I can remember him sort of unfolding himself as he got out. But he used to swear by this little car.
standard 8.
It was a standard 8 or standard
Up,
10. It might have been a standard
upright
10.
car.
It wasn't an upright one, it was
Yeah.
a early 1950s one.
Right, right.
But it might have been a 10, or I always thought it was an 8.
Right.
But no, he used to live at our family house. He had a bed sit there.
Yeah.
Frequently you could smell the curry.
Yeah.
Because he used to cook curries for himself.
Yeah.
Because he spent a lot of time in India, so lots of curries. And but we didn't see much of him, of course, during the 1960s because he was in Africa.
Right.
In Kenya, Nigeria,
Right.
establishing institutes of management over there.
Right.
And then I saw we didn't see an awful lot of him.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
generally, he was always doing things.
Yeah.
He was always off doing things. When he wasn't at work, he was away doing
Yep. Yep.
And of course, when he retired, and I think he retired pretty well on the dot of 65, he was intent on seeing as much of the world as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. He went off all over the place, didn't he?
He went everywhere, just about every corner of the earth.
You said not the Antarctic.
I don't think he did the Antarctic or the Arctic. I think he did virtually. He did send me a postcard from Tierra del Fuego.
Wow.
Which is back in the sort of late 80s, which is the southernmost city in the world. And that was when he went on a trip right around South America on a truck with a dozen or so other people.
How do you feel today's gone?
Brilliantly.
Good.
I'm delighted, actually, because this was the funeral that was never intended to be. He didn't want it. He didn't want a funeral at all.
Yeah.
But he got one anyway, and it was a good one.
Do you think he would have had a good chuckle about it or something?
Yeah, I think he'd be quite pleased, actually. I really do. Yeah.
That's great.
And I think I've learned today the depth of affection for him.
Yeah, yeah. And it was great that the Japanese ambassador came, wasn't it, too?
And when he spoke, it was said from the heart as well.
Yeah.
You could tell. It wasn't just an ambassador saying nice, kind things about some Brit. It was the ambassador talking about a friend.
Yeah.
And that was nice. It was very touching, actually.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much.
A good day. A very good day.
Right, I'm Eric Horwell. I'm Centurion number 390, and Philip was number 209. Philip qualified as a Centurion in 1953.
I think you better explain what a Centurion is.
A Centurion is a person who's walked 100 miles in less than 24 hours under properly controlled conditions, i.e. race walking judges present.
Wow. That sounds pretty hard to do.
Yes, it is indeed. The race from Birmingham to London in 1953 is the only occasion that particular course had been used. It was the first time that there had been a team championship in conjunction with the race, and Royal Sutton Coldfield won the team race. Philip was a member of the team along with George Hall and E.M. Wild. So this is a bit of extra history because it's the first of a first.
So why does anybody want to walk 100 miles in 24 hours?
It's a challenge.
Right.
And I think it would be fair to say that Philip enjoyed a challenge.
Right.
He was often disappear from our Midland scene for months on end, and then maybe at a Winter League or some other function he would suddenly appear with his kit on, all ready to go and join in, and then we'd be asking where he'd been, which we didn't always find out, but he always would be asking about other walkers that weren't there. A very considerate man, very popular with the walkers, many of whom would like to have seen him more often in walking races. He was also a bit of a character because he always walked in a pair of old khaki baggy shorts, which were somewhat different from the more modern shorts which most of the youngsters now wear.
Thanks very much.
Does that help?
That's super. That's terrific. Ma'am, who are you?
I'm Pam Horwell, Eric's wife.
Right.
I'm not a Centurion. I wouldn't aspire to be one. I don't think I've got the capabilities to do it, but I often met Phil on the racetrack. We competed together in races. I call him Phil because that's how I know him. He was always Phil to me. He was a lovely man, a real gentleman, and yes, I've learnt a lot about Phil today that I didn't know before. He's got many, many different sides to him, but no, it's been a real pleasure to know him and a privilege.
I'm Phila de Purvis, and I want to say in Japanese, Phil さんが日本人の友達が多くて、残念ながら今日は参加できなかったんですけれども、気持ちとして出席しているような感じです。So we just want to say Phil had so many friends in Japan as a result of his reconciliatory work, and I really feel that they're here in spirit, and we were able to put a message from Nobuko Kosuge, who is one of his greatest Japanese friends, on his coffin. Yes, I am Secretary of the International Friendship and Reconciliation Trust, which was set up by Phil, and he was chairman of it. So I hope to carry on his work at Ariwas and organising the annual service of reconciliation at Canterbury Cathedral with the chairman, the new chairman.
Thanks.
My name is Takayasu Ogura. I'm a Japanese journalist from the Mainichi newspapers, and I came to London just 3 weeks ago as a London correspondent, and I heard the story of Philip Malins. I am very interested in his story, and I respect what he done. And as a Japanese, I have to say I thank you and I thank Philip Malins so much, because it was a very difficult job. It is very difficult work to make a reconciliation between Japan and British, especially between the soldiers. So Japanese soldiers and British soldiers used to be so very strong enemies.
Yeah.
I know that, but now he was trying to make a reconciliation, and now maybe gradually we are succeed, and maybe in the future, maybe the young generation as us, maybe we can success and we can achieve two reconciliations. Thank you very much. 日本語で言います。僕は毎日新聞の、ロンドン特派員の小倉孝康です。私3週間前にロンドンに来たんですけれども、フィリップさんの話に痛く関心を持ちまして、日英間のその、退役軍人の和解問題に非常に興味を持ちました。それで、彼がやったことを、彼が成し遂げたことを非常に、尊敬してますし、一日本人として、彼に感謝する気持ちがいっぱいです。でも彼がやり遂げたことはまだその道半ばだと思います。これからその僕たちの、若い世代が彼の後を継ぐような形で目的だからその、両国間の、和解を達成していけたらいいなと思っております。
I'm Dick Rogers. I've just taken the funeral service of Major Philip Malins MBE MC, and also the holder of the Order of the Rising Sun with Gold and Silver Rays, which was a great honour vested on him on behalf of the Emperor of Japan. It was a service at a crematorium in Birmingham. And we had the honour of having present with us the Ambassador of Japan, His Excellency Hayashi, who spoke. Philip was an amazing man. He just died just before his 93rd birthday in Birmingham. He was educated in Birmingham, in Aston. He joined up, he was in the Territorial Army at the outbreak of the war. His nephew Stephen is just with me. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yeah.
And he was in the Indian Army Supply Corps.
That was in the last part of the war, yeah. After 2 years in hospital in India with sprue.
Right, so he was ill.
He joined the Indian Army.
He had a long illness during the war in India. And then he was in charge of mules delivering ammunition and other supplies to the British Army, and food to the British Army in Burma, which for which I think was it that for which he was avoided the MBE, military MBE. And then at the end of the war, there was this remarkable thing that he was sent to Saigon, which was part then of French Indochina. And the local armed people didn't want to have the French come and rule them, so they were really the forerunners, I guess, of the Viet Cong. Would that be right?
The rebels were known as the Annamites.
Yes.
And they were the ones that were really fighting against anybody who was trying to get the French back into Saigon.
Yep.
And so they were the ones that Phil was really up against.
Yes, and the unique thing that Phil did was that he led a joint force of Japanese soldiers who, after the surrender of Japan.
As far as we know, the only time that's ever happened.
The only time that's ever happened, a joint force of Japanese soldiers and Dutch and other allied people, allied forces, fighting on the same side to secure an arms dump. A sort of an abandoned Japanese arms dump just outside Saigon, and he was awarded the Military Cross for securing the arms and bringing them in through ambushes to a safe place within Saigon, and for that he was awarded the Military Cross. And since then he comes from the family that produced Mamod toy steam engines, which
more particularly Maymod.
Malins
models.
Oh, right. Oh, I see. Right, Maymod. Oh, okay, Malins models. Excellent. I had one of them. I think it was.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
And then he was in the British Institute of Management. Is that right? And he travelled extensively in Africa.
He lived in Africa for about 10 years, creating the Nigerian Institute of Management and the Kenyan Institute of Management.
Thank you. And then he used his persuasive powers he was very keen that there should be recognition of the sufferings of the Far East prisoners of war, and he secured from the British government compensation for those who had been prisoners of war and for the families of those who died, and the British were then going to take it up with the Japanese to sort of level things out. And he threw himself passionately over many decades into the process of reconciliation with people in Japan, not on the basis of brushing things under the carpet, but saying that awful things were done, and the Japanese had the grace to be sorry, I think. Isn't that right?
They apologised. Openly apologised.
They apologised.
Which they'd never previously done, apparently.
This is absolutely historic stuff, and it's extremely significant, and the friendship that we have with Japan today I think is in very large measure down to Philip's dogged work on this, and it's wonderful that the Japanese ambassador came today and spoke very warmly of his friend Philip, which is wonderful. I just feel extremely honoured to be associated at all with this man. He also had fun, and he was a passionate cyclist. He cycled from from John O'Groats, from Land's End to John O'Groats, I think,
and
wasn't it? And back. And he was one of these centurion walkers, speed. What is it? Racing walkers.
Race walking.
Right,
that's it.
And basically, he just had a great life. Apparently he enjoyed it. But he also did work of immeasurable eternal significance. And he was a great man to be honoured. Thanks very much.
Nice.
Okay, great.
Hello. What follows is more or less what I said at the service, as I tried to share with the people at the service the story of Philip Malins, this extraordinary man. And I first met Philip when I became the honorary chaplain to the Birmingham branch of the Burma Star Association in 1980. Over the years I have slowly discovered the incredible life he led. In every sense, Philip was an extraordinary man, and were there time, and we're very limited, I could tell amazing stories of his activities. I'll try and tell you some of them. Philip was educated at King Edward's VI School in Aston. With the war imminent, he joined the RASC TA, and with them went with the BEF to France at the opening of the war, narrowly escaping death when a petrol lorry he was in received a direct hit, and the other 5 occupants of the lorry were killed, and he miraculously escaped. And he evacuated with the others from the beaches of Dunkirk. He returned to the United Kingdom. He went to India there after that and served in many areas. And the story of how on one occasion he galloped unknowingly a mile through a minefield, and he only found out afterwards what he'd done. When hostilities ended in Burma, he was sent to Indochina, where he earned an MC for leading a mixed force of Gurkhas, soldiers, Dutch, and also, because it was the end of the war, Japanese soldiers on a dangerous operation. Throughout the war years, he displayed great courage and resourcefulness, skilled organiser. After demobilisation, he returned to the family firm of Mahmud. Remember, if you're old enough, the steam engines for boys that they used to make. I had one myself, so that was a link to Philip. He then entered into the Institute of Management, pioneering work in Nigeria and Kenya, and later in Madagascar. But by now, Philip was deeply involved in the reconciliation with the former enemies, the German, and even particularly more than that, the Japanese, which has dominated his life and his activities ever since. He was chairman of the International Friendship and Reconciliation organising services at Canterbury and Coventry cathedrals, which were attended by representatives from all countries, but again especially from Germany and Japanese, our former enemies. Tree planting ceremonies took place in England and in Japan, and I think in Germany too. One of the things that Philip was really involved with was the National Memorial at Ulriwas, and he was instrumental in having built the Grove of Reconciliation, place for trees, Japanese trees and English trees, to be grown together as an outward sign of the reconciliation between the two nations, which he so much longed for. As a result of all this work, in 2010 he received the distinction of a high Japanese honour, Order of the Rising Sun, Gold and Silver Rays, of which he was most proud. It was not given to many, but to those who worked for reconciliation. It's worth noting that for reconciliation with our former enemies, he received much criticism from veterans of the Burma Railway particularly, who had suffered so much under Japanese. And yet, with strong-minded perseverance, he worked hard to get people to understand that the path of reconciliation lay not in carrying on with memories of the wartime activities on all sides, but that by coming together and sharing, they could find the way to peace. Amidst all these international events, Philip was active in countless other organisations, not just supporting, but whenever he was a member of something, always offering inspiration and leadership. There was the Far East Prisoners of War Association, and course of his time with them, he helped obtain benefits for prisoners of war, many of suffering from the wounds they'd had in the war, civilian internees and widows. And this fund, which he began now, totals more than £250 million have been dispersed. There was also the Burma Campaign Society, an unusual one for its membership, with both British and Japanese veterans belonged. His experiences at Dunkirk led him to Birmingham Dunkirk Veterans Fellowship, which he has actively supported and led, and has organised many annual visits to France, quite recently too. He was a founder member of the Burma Star Association here in Birmingham and became its first chairman. And this year we are celebrating 60 years since that was founded. He was also involved with the Burma Star at national level, speaking out for reconciliation. Not surprisingly, he has served the British Legion here in Birmingham too, with the Poppy Day and anything else that he could help. Surprisingly, in all these things that he's done, this busy, full life, Philip has maintained his love of athletics. He was a keen walker and a keen cyclist. He joined the Centurions by virtue of walking 104 miles in 21 hours, the rule being that those who joined had to have done over 100 miles walking. He was a keen cyclist, belonged to the Midlands Cycling and Athletic Club, and it was their 120th anniversary not long ago. He maintained his walking in veterans' competitions to the very last, and I would meet him at our various occasions with the Burma Star Association, and he would always be telling me of how just recently he had walked some incredible distance and come first, second, third. Not a man to take the lower ranks. Incredibly fit. Indeed, when he went to see the doctor in more recent times, the doctor had to ask who he was because he'd never been before. Philip will be sadly missed by every one of us. Our hope must be that his great vision for peace and Philip will be sadly missed by us all. Our hope must be that his great vision for peace and reconciliation will be the torch a new generation will take up on his behalf. A great man with courage, determination, caring and willing to make a stand against the odds.